What's up, everyone? It's Dakota, and welcome back to another Modern video, and another day, another ball drop by Hasbro, as there is definitely some discourse around these commander decks for Modern Horizons 3. Is it overblown? I'm not quite sure, but we're going to kind of discuss it a little bit today, because I definitely wanted to talk about it. It's something that's definitely brand new for the Modern Horizons sets that have come out. Obviously, this is only the third one, but the other two were highly, at least in my opinion, very successful. And we're going to talk about Modern Horizons 3. We're going to talk about these commander decks. But of course, if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you want to see more content like this, you want to see competitive, modern, and pioneer videos, please consider subscribing to the channel and ring the notification bell so you know when those videos get posted. And if you go into the description down below of this video, you'll find a link to my Discord server. Go ahead and follow that link and join the server over there. And, of course, check out the Casual Spikes podcast. I don't think we're going to have an episode for this Saturday coming up, but we do have some previous episodes talking about some of the RCs and things like that. So if you want to check out some of the regional championship stuff, I believe there was a few of them that were, there was one that was like Pioneer, the rest were like Modern. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and check it out. So Modern Horizons 3, for the uninitiated, the Modern Horizons sets have specifically Modern in mind. These are sets to deliberately inject cards into the Modern format. They are playable in like Legacy, Vintage, and stuff like that, some of the older formats, but Modern is in mind when these cards are being printed, they're being made, designed, what have you. So it makes sense that a lot of the product that is kind of released like alongside of Modern Horizons has kind of kept that, true nature of like these cards are meant for Modern. They're, they obviously can be played in any of the formats. I mean, really, depending on who you are, you could play these cards like regardless of format, But the idea being that we're going to not have to print these Modern power level cards in standard legal sets or, standard product and what have you, and then, have them kind of like rec standard. The idea was like they could tone down the power level of standard, or at least what I think, tone down the power level of standard. Then you have a set that you just have more powerful cards inherently printed. You have a fun, limited environment, because limited is in mind when a lot of these sets aren't designed. We just don't throw a ton of reprints into a set anymore, kind of like what we did with the Modern Master sets and the other Master sets that kind of came before this. Now, in Modern Horizons' third iteration that is going to be coming out later this year, we have commander decks now, which is something that we have not seen in the previous two products. Now, I'm going to preface this before I give any insight onto how I feel about like these commander decks, because the reason I think Hasbro dropped the ball is probably a little bit different, and probably a lot bit different from what other people are saying. But in general, when it comes to playing Magic, I don't care how people play the game, how they enjoy it, whatever. The game's great. It's definitely expanded quite a bit just in the last few years, and of course over the 30 plus years that it's been around. It just doesn't matter to me how you want to play the game. Just as long as you have fun playing the game, you have friends that you can get together, create memories and stuff like that, meet up with people, whether it's casual, competitive, doesn't matter. It's meant to be a game at the end of the day, and it's a lot of fun. So when I get to the point where Hasbro has kind of dropped the ball on this, I'm not even saying this is a Wizards decision. I think this was like more of a Hasbro decision than a Wizards decision, because again, like they crushed it, financially, compared to the rest of the company. Well, compared to like any company, they crushed it. And Hasbro's kind of like failing. They're going to definitely try to pump out as much product as they can. They know they need to make up their money in Magic the Gathering. So I think this is definitely more of like a financially driven decision than something that's like, hey, we want to try something new for the Modern Horizons set. And maybe if it is something that is expected to be new, with the outside pressures and like the outside happenings of Magic, and with its parent company and all these other things, this just doesn't feel like a genuine inclusion. This feels like we need to push a commander product. So like this set not only sells, people buy the commander deck, they then like, okay, I want to buy packs from the set, so they end up buying like more sealed product, what have you. Stores are able to sell more, so on. Overall, in the broad grand scheme of things, I don't care that there's a commander deck for every set that comes out. I really don't care. I think that it feels a little disingenuous at times for, you know, the standard sets to have a commander, like a set of commander precons. That's the word I'm looking for. Because not all the time are all the cards legal in that set. I think that you should kind of have, you know, the set that you're printing for in mind when making these. Obviously, if you print cards in a commander deck that are like standard power level, they're probably going to be behind on a lot of the other the other commander cards that are out there that exist, roughly like 50,000 of them, and that's probably not even an exaggeration. Maybe it is, I don't know. But you definitely, like, if you print a standard card that's going to be, you know, very good in a commander deck, it's going to be a lot harder to access, and especially if it's only accessible in the commander deck itself, is, you know, a pretty slippery slope. We've seen that with like buy a box promos with Nexus of Fate, where that card was super expensive and you couldn't even physically play with the card because it was so warped, and it ended up being like a standard staple. It's also playing modern, what have you. And same thing with like these Modern Horizons, you know, these commander decks and stuff. Like, presumably these are going to be pretty expensive, you know, when they get released. And on top of that too, if you print any cards that are going to be legal in these sets, that are going to be legal in Modern, is going to be pretty rough on the wallet for other players that want to get into it, because it's just another staple that's going to cost 40, 50, 60 bucks, probably even more, due to the fact that you have to buy the whole commander precon, and then the commander precon is going to be super expensive. You know, to get a card that you absolutely need to play, at least to play the most optimal deck in the format. So and to be fair, Hasbro has said that, or I guess Wizards has said that nothing in this set is going to be modern legal. Absolutely none of it. So there's like a part of me that like kind of finds this like road where it's like, why would you have commander product that doesn't have anything legal from the set, you know, barring any reprints or anything that show up in the deck. Obviously, if, you know, Hardened Scales gets reprinted in Modern Horizons 3, that doesn't mean it's banned in the format. It just means that, you know, it's getting reprinted in this deck, and there's going to be some new cards and stuff. I think if there's some decent reprints, like if there's like some smaller cards that, you know, maybe have some new art and whatever, you know, I think overall these commander decks are going to be okay. You know, that said, with, you know, the creative energy, which we know that there's an energy theme to the set with some of the other uncommons and stuff that have been spoiled in the set. We know Eldrazi is going to be kind of a big thing with the new Emrakul that was released, and the Graveyard Overdrive. I can't remember any of the cards off the top of my head that necessarily cared about the Graveyard. And Tricky Terrain, like the ramp strategy, you know, we saw with one of the free spells that you can cast now in Modern Horizons 3 once it releases, where we're looking for the other 4 in that cycle. You know, so I think overall, like, is like, from a business standpoint, does this make sense? Sure. Yeah. Commander is probably one of your most popular formats. It's one of like the main game, you know, ways that your players play the game and everything. So it makes sense that anytime that there's a full set release, that you have commander cards that, or commander decks rather, that get released beside that product. And then you have a little bit of everything for everyone, while, you know, the commander players presumably are going to buy those precon decks and then buy packs from the new set to kind of, you know, fit the theme or whatever of the deck that you're trying to build, you know, or at least, you know, buy product, you know, to upgrade their commander decks and things like that. So, I mean, overall, to kind of like wrap it up, because I know I can ramble for a long time, these commander decks are probably going to be okay. I think it feels more disingenuous having them just kind of thrown in, considering we've never seen it from another set. But by like that argument, then we should never see them, because then it'll always kind of feel that way. I think just with like the recent happenings of Hasbro over the last like few months, you know, with all the layoffs and everything, all of the, you know, bad stuff that's kind of coming out from the company itself, you know, that it just feels like this is like a cash grab more than something that would be a cool inclusion to, you know, a modern product that, you know, while probably hated by a lot of people, you know, like, I think Modern Horizons overall just gets a lot of flack. You know, we look at Modern Horizons 1, like, oh, we had Hogak format, but, like, aside from that, like, once that got fixed, like, Modern was awesome. MH2, like, yeah, like, once like Rakdos Evoke really started to pick up a lot of play. Like the format started to suck, but then like before that, you know, like it was fine. Like you had literally like Blue Red Murktide was like your best deck, and like that was totally fine because it was your best deck was like something that had like a 50-50 matchup against most of the format, you know, and to me like that kind of marks like a pretty good place overall, especially when you did have a diverse metagame and stuff. So overall, to actually officially wrap it up and end this Midwest goodbye, Commander products and Commander decks in Modern Horizons 3, this is going to be okay. You know, it's going to be slightly annoying because, again, it feels like it's just kind of like lumped into the main product, the main reason to kind of get into the set, which is, you know, to get into Modern. You know, hopefully, if there's any cards that are like reprinted in these Commander decks that are going to be legal in the format, that they're not like super crazy expensive cards that need reprints, because then you could just find a way to reprint them in the main set, and you know, that to at least get the price down to make Modern just a little bit more accessible to the players in it. Because again, like it just seems like every other set, there's like a handful of decks that end up getting a new staple to play in the deck and everything, and you know, that's fine. But, you know, at that point, like, Modern starts to get really expensive. But that's another discussion for another day. But, yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the video. This little discussion, like, rant kind of video. Honestly, as I've kind of, like, talked more about it and everything, I think I've kind of, like, cooled off on, you know, what's going on. Also kind of funny that, like, 3 of the 4 decks play Jund colors, even though Jund is basically bordering on unplayable in the Modern format. So, kind of a neat detail there. But yeah, you know, this overall, like, this product's probably going to be okay. And people are going to buy it anyway. You know, there's outrage for it, but people are still going to buy Modern Horizons 3. People are still going to buy the Commander decks from this. So it is what it is. We try to, like, enjoy it and, I guess, ride it out. And hopefully there's nothing super important that gets printed in these decks, or, I guess, reprinted in these decks. And, you know, absolutely just like obliterates the price, you know, in a bad way. So that's gonna do it for me this video. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel, ring notification bell, leave a like on the video as well, dislike it if you didn't like it, so on. That's gonna do it for me. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all in the next one.